Ekonene.
Hii ni an ekonene special jo. Tumeamua tubonge jua politics kiasi. Na vile unajuaga jo. Naonaga tu kwa comments wamejam jo. Buda wewe hujui politics yote. So leo tumeamua tukuja na mtu ni a governance consultant. Anaitwa Charles Munyui. Most probably ushamwona kwa TV yako. Najua akianalyze stories za politics. So tunasema ekonene, si ndio?
Ekonene.
So Mr. Charles.
Yes.
Ni aje?
Niko salama ndugu yangu.
Yeah.
Ekonene.
Yeah. So kuna story imekuwa ikitrend sana hapa Kenya.
Yes.
Na ni story na vile ODM ili push out ili expel a few of its members.
Okay.
So does that have any effect according to wewe, like on the whole situation, ama tutafili effect 5 years from now, like during elections?
No, sio mara ya kwanza. You know, the elections, sheria ya vyama, Political Parties Act, kusoma pamoja na amendment ambayo ilifanywa last year 2022, inaruhusu chama kukung'oa. Kwa sababu kadhaa, especially if there is a deeming provision in law. So you can leave a party in 3 ways. You could pass away, God forbid. You could resign, or you could be kicked out.
Yes.
Hiyo kuresign ama kutoka kwa chama ni kuandikia, kama wewe ni mbunge unaandikia clerk. Kama wewe ni mbunge wa county assembly unaandikia clerk wa county assembly. Na kama wewe ni raia tu wa kawaida unaandikia chama chako. Kwamba mimi nimetoka hiki chama. Sasa mimi si mwanachama. Lakini unajua kwa sheria kuna mambo mingi. So kukawekwa kitu inaitwa deeming provision in law. Tunaweza kuwa hauja resign kwa maandishi lakini bado wewe umeresign. Na wakasema utajuaje mtu has been deemed to have resigned? Ukiamka leo wewe ni mwanachama wa ODM for example ama Jubilee, lakini wapatikana tu kwa mikutano ya UDA. Nasema twende kazi kabisa, sisi ni UDA, sisi hata mvalia mavazi ya UDA, umekaa hapa na hamko kwa coalition moja. Wewe sheria inakudeem kuwa umeresign. Unakaa wewe hauko kwa kile chama. Ukionekana umefungua chama kingine ama you formed another political party, or you are associating with another political party, then again legally speaking you are deemed to have resigned from your political party. So hiyo ndio provision natumika kisheria. I think it's 14A or something like that, section 14 ya sheria ya political parties ambayo inatumika kusema kwamba wale wabunge wa ODM ni kama wameassociate na upande mwingine wa chama cha president. Ni kweli wengi wamekubali kwamba we have been working with the president. So ikikuwa wewe umekuwa deemed to have resigned, kwanza unapewa chance ya kusikizwa. Unasikizwa, have you done these things? You are asked, you are given the exact reasons as to why the party assumes that you have resigned, or you should be deemed to have resigned. Then of course you're given ample time to respond to the allegations. Na kama bado the organ of the party that is dealing with the disciplinary organ is convinced that you should go, then they can determine that you should be kicked out of the party. Remember, ukitolewa kwa chama ni kumaanisha basi wewe hata kama ulikuwa ni kama wewe resign tu. Kiresign kama ni MP, una resign kwa clerk wa bunge, kumaanisha you're no longer an MP. So you again, if you are deemed to have resigned, it means you cease to be.
So because hiyo ndio swali niko nayo. Kama saizi vile Jalang'o amekuwa expelled from ODM. He's still the member of parliament for Lang'ata, si ndio?
He's still the member of parliament for Lang'ata. What will happen is the party will notify the registrar of political parties to strike out his name from the list of the members of the party, which is in the custody of the registrar of political parties. So if the registrar is convinced, then the registrar will strike out that name, and of course notify everyone, including the speaker and through the clerk of the National Assembly, so that the seat can be declared vacant.
Also, so if we follow the constitution,
it's not a small issue. It's a big issue. If you are approved, remember you are a member of parliament courtesy of the party. You're not an independent candidate. You are not an independent candidate and won, so you become an independent member of parliament. You are a member of parliament courtesy of the party that sponsored you there. So the moment the membership ceases, then naturally you lose that position. I think it's not a small issue. But now, of course, we have precedents. We have things that have happened in the past. And I remember a case in point was Aisha Juma. I think there is a time Aisha Juma had a similar problem. And that one was even worse because she was campaigning for William Ruto, the then deputy president, to be president during the campaign season. And the party determined the same. And then when they wrote to the registrar confirmed the same things and said, it's true, you should be kicked out. But she went to court. The next level, if the registrar does that, that dispute goes to the to the tribunal.
Oh, okay.
Political parties dispute tribunal. That deals with disputes between political parties, between a political party and its members, between members of a political party. So that matter lands there. It is the first place you go to before now you go to the High Court. So and the tribunal said no, this process was not proper. So she should be retained as a member of. It was not done properly. So she was ultimately not kicked out. So it is not easy again
to kick out someone. Especially saizi the government has the majority. Sitakuwa hard.
I don't think so. This is not about the government. Remember, this is a legal process. The tribunal is part of the judiciary.
Oh, it's not that politicians?
No. Now that it's moved out of the politics, now it's in court. At the level of a tribunal. Remember, a tribunal is a court. So that determination set a precedent. But importantly, if you ask yourself the things that need to be asked, when a member of parliament, for example, if you read the constitution on how we registrate and the structure of parliament and how you make laws and all that, it becomes very difficult to accuse someone of not voting for a bill. Because then it means you're micromanaging that person. When you're elected, you are a legislature, you are representative of the people, and you oversight the government to ensure things are safe. Kenyan property is not stolen. So if you miss a session of parliament, does it mean you should be kicked out? Supposing maybe you are sick. There can always be an explanation. And to ensure members of parliament don't just consistently miss parliamentary sessions, they give a number of the sessions that you can miss. I think it's 8. If you miss 8 consecutive ones, then you're kicked out naturally. Automatically you're kicked out of parliament. So even if you go to court, how will you prove this guy abstained from voting for the finance bill? Because that is the biggest accusation, that they were not there when the finance bill was being voted for, and they did not give sufficient explanation as to why they were not present on a day that everyone needed the opposition MPs in parliament to sort of like kill the bill on the floor. So it becomes very hard, because when you go to court now, it's about evidence, it's about facts, it's about the law. So I don't see how far this will go. But obviously, when you're tied in a tribunal, in court, dealing with these things, you are no longer inaudible. You know how it works, especially politically speaking. You can imagine now going to the ground. It becomes not very easy until this matter is dispensed with. Especially at a time when Raila Odinga, Right Honorable, and His Excellency the President seem to be working together. So you end up looking sort of isolated, if you ask me.
Okay. Because kumekuwa na hiyo rumor that the handshake is on the way. So if there's any form of handshake, do you feel like wanaweza amua kusacrifice these ones? Because like, let's sacrifice these ones. You get MPs that are loyal to you as long as you let my government work.
I think there is a problem right there, because remember, you don't have IEBC. We cannot have an election without IEBC. IEBC. Even if the seats were to be declared vacant by if a writ is issued by the speaker declaring the seats vacant, remember, an election is supposed to be held, I think, within 90 days. There's no IEBC. And the discussions that are happening right now are the ones that will give us a selection panel, which selection panel now will advertise for the IEBC commission positions, and then people will apply, and then shortlisted and nominated to be appointed by the president for position of chairman as well as the commissioners. So this is quite a process. And looking at the president, again, aware that this is a legal, a judicial process if you are kicked out. But I don't think he's the kind of person who likes these things of elections, by elections, kicking out people. He would really be slow to work with that. Number two, I don't know what people are waiting for in terms of a handshake.
Yeah.
I think what was meant to happen has already happened, if you ask me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because both sides were very clear. Raila was saying, Right Honorable Raila Odinga was saying, not interested in being part of this government. I'm not interested in whatever percentage that is assumed I want. I'm not looking for that. On the other side, the government was saying, we are not giving you an eighth or anything of this government. We are not. So they were in agreement.
Yeah.
There is no nusu mkate, quarter mkate, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So the issues under discussion is what I would call a handshake, if you ask me.
Yeah,
We resolve the issues of IEBC, the reconstitution of the panel so that it can give us a commission that we are happy about as both sides. Secondly, we make the NGCF, National Government Constituencies Development Fund, NGCDF, a constitutional fund. We deal with issues of gender issues, gender parity in parliament. There was also the issue of creating the position of official leader of opposition, which I believe will apply retrospectively, meaning the person who was second in the last election, tutarudi huko nyuma tumlete akue sasa ndio official leader of opposition. Usually it would wait for the next elections. I don't think that is going to happen. We'll provide that it goes back so that Raila will have an office, a functional office, and of course Mudavadi's seat becomes a constitutional seat. This one of Prime Cabinet Secretary. Moving forward, those are the issues under discussion. And to me, that's the handshake right there. There's nothing else we are waiting for because that's it. And if you look at the mood, and including yesterday, no other person than the Deputy President having a tete-a-tete with Right Honorable Raila Odinga, publicly so, and all of them looking very happy. And remember the other day, one was saying, I cannot shake hands with these ones. I will be the last person I talk to. Even if he shakes hands with everyone else, I will not be there. So I think in terms of a relationship, the terms of a relationship have been established. And I think it's the other details now that are being worked out.
Oh, okay. Alafu, looking at these MPs who've been expelled, who do you think stands to lose the most if, let's say, kila kitu iwak hivo, like the tribunal was like, yes, you guys have been kicked out, it's time for a by-election? Who do you think?
I feel if you look at, for example, Tom Ojeda, cancer, where he comes from, naturally, that this is Raila who decides who becomes what. Langata, the last election, I don't think was ODM. It was the other side.
Nixon Korir,
I think Jalang'o would come back, if you ask me. I'm not really keen on the other ones, but I think Jalang'o would be safe. In the event it gets there, I don't see it getting there at all. Remember, Jalang'o is not Jalang'o because of Raila, and I'm sorry to say this. With a lot of respect. Jalang'o is Jalang'o because he grew like this guy you host here called Kasipul. He came from nowhere. He's a brand. He's doing his things, and then before you know it, people know him across the country. So they support him not because he's been built by anyone or because he's associated with this or the other political party, but it's because it's him as a person. And the support he has is beyond that of the political inclination. So Jalang'o would be able to reorganize himself, and I want to believe, having been an MP, he realizes it is not easy to just be an MP. Remember, MPs are not even members of the Constituency Development Fund Committee. I don't know whether you know that. The CDF that they always talk about, they're not members of the committee of CDF. Actually, they belong to a very small committee called the Oversight Committee, created by the same Act of Parliament, the NGCDF Act. And they pick 5 people. They remain with those names. Nobody wants to know who it is. You just have some 5 people you picked that are supposed to help in terms of oversighting what the committee is doing, helping the community identify the right projects, but they cannot interfere with the processes. It's only that they do it without necessarily, being so open about it. They will, of course, influence because they will intimidate the teams. They will intimidate the national board of CDF, but legally speaking, they have very little power over the NGCDF. Their work should be oversight. So if you look at an MP, it becomes very tricky if you're not working closely with the leadership of the national executive at the time, the administration of the time. Yes.
Oh, okay. Because even that's the same thing I've been feeling, that because also politics is such an emotive issue. Inamaanisha like if someone like Jalang'o was to Nini, there are people who would actually come out to vote in a by-election because they want him back. And there are other people also who feel like he betrayed the party who would also come. So it would be a very interesting by-election, I think, in specifically Alang'ata. You inaweza kuwa na turnout, I think, like one of the biggest kwa by-elections, ama?
I think members of parliament should toe the line. You know, it's all good. If these are opposition MPs, there are things that need to be there for the people. Because when something is oppressive, you need to be there shouting loudest. And remember, the guys in the side of the government might not necessarily, they will not want to talk too much about this. After all, they're in government. But the opposition has a clear role. And I think the creation of this position of official leader of opposition will give it meat. Because now we have an office through which there can be clear expression of dispute when it arises. Without that, it was very difficult for an MP to make some of these decisions. And remember, you cannot wait on the party position on everything. After all, you're also an elected member of parliament who is supposed to represent the best interests of your people. And I'll give you an example. If a bill is in parliament and it is supporting the creation of an extra constituency, for example, in your constituency, and your party's adopted position is that we should not create more constituencies, will you go against the position that would most benefit your people, just to look like you're aligning yourself with your political party? So I think there is that issue there that needs to be looked at, because as a member of parliament, you are elected by a constituency of individuals in a constituency who wants you to check to look after their interest in terms of the pieces of legislation you bring should be able to benefit them as they benefit the country. You should be able to oversight the government, and you should be able to represent them to the extent that their issues, their needs are looked into and taken care of. That becomes a primary objective. So the issue of serving the party is almost secondary to a large extent. But when you're in government, again, it becomes now easier to relate with the government. After all, it's the government that is discharging the mandate of its, ensuring its manifesto is working. The manifesto you bring in, the manifesto that ultimately will bring development to your place. That is unlike being in the opposition. Because being in the opposition, it's not your manifesto that is being implemented. So you can only object here, object there, but anything that is beneficial to you, you'll find yourself supporting, irrespective of the position the party has adopted. And I think these are the intrigues that will ultimately be resolved by the court by determining, was this person properly kicked out simply because he was discharging his function, his duty as a member of parliament, or not? At what point do you have a distinction between what one is supposed to do as a party member and what you're supposed to do as a member of the National Assembly or Senate as provided for in Article 95 and Article 96 of the Constitution.
And why did we remove the office of the leader of the opposition? Because it used to be there in the old Constitution, Ama? Because I used to hear the official leader of the opposition, official leader. Ama, it was just a phrase, but the office itself never existed.
I remember it was there. I remember when you guys passed this Constitution, the current Constitution. And in a referendum, and you failed to include that in a proper way. But again, constitutions are supposed to be dynamics to the extent that they can be, they are dynamic to the extent that they can be able to be amended, they can be able to be changed, they can be able to be looked into, they can be able to be, worked on, changed this way or the other way. So I think the current constitution, if you've listened to the voices of the people, the first thing the current president proposed when he came in was the creation of that of official position, or rather position of official leader of opposition. The creation of a version of a prime minister, but called a prime cabinet secretary position, as constitutional offices. But I have a feeling, much as we have not seen what these talks will come up with, the bill they'll ultimately come up with. Remember, anything that has the force of law
Yeah.
must go through parliament. That's why you cannot do this without the likes of Kimani Ichung'wah there, the majority leader and parliament, because ultimately all these decisions will go to parliament so that they are given the force of law. So I have a feeling they will work on something that will not interfere with the operations of parliament to the extent that will not need to go to a referendum so that it can be implemented sooner. This creation of this office, I think, is a realization that we cannot function the way we are. Much as the constitution took a lot of power from the president, the administration still needs to be checked. So creation of this seat, giving the official leader of opposition a constitutional office, which now gets funding, where he can create now other offices like shadow cabinet. So that if it's agriculture, you have a shadow cabinet for agriculture. If it's investment, Minister of Investment, Trade, you can have a shadow cabinet minister for that. So that when this minister is doing this and the other one, the shadow minister can say, that's not the way to do it. If I were you, I would do it this way. Show alternative governance, how it should be done. And that way, everyone will learn from the other. And I believe over and above the checking aspect, you'll find one borrowing from the other and it becomes a better country.
Oh, so the shadow cabinet actually helps, because I just assume it's just a name.
No. You know, that's how now you bring out the issues to the table. You're the Minister for Health. You're talking about NHIF and how we should run it. I'm the shadow cabinet minister for health under the office of the leader of official opposition. This is what we feel. So if we put that together and we bring it to the table and it ends up in parliament, you'll find us adopting some of those things that are suggested by the opposition, but in a structured way. If anything, you will know you should have done it this way. It becomes a better way for the official leader of opposition to also campaign, because he's telling the world, if I was to deal with the same situation, this is how I'll deal with it. So I'm not saying you don't do it, but do it better this way, and this is how I'll do it. So next elections, people might actually opt to pick you because you have shown wrong the way that you are. But imagine you have lost an election. Your MCA who stood on your ticket is in this county assembly, in this local assembly, or this county assembly or the other one. You at home with your 6 million votes. You'll have to convince Kenyans later that you need to elect me. How? So the only noise you can make is something happens and you're on TV telling people, no, you, Mr. President, you can't do this. Hawezi kufanya hivi. Ungefanya hivi. Then you go back and wait. So, but if you're in a structured way, you can engage in a structured manner and you'll showcase what you're capable of. And that way, you will support your way.
Oh, okay. Yes. And then, Pia, the question that I've had a lot of people asking is, now if you are to look at the politics of Kenya, of course, politics yetu inakuwaga tribal sana, is... can we right now say, with what we've seen, can we right now say that the official Agikuyu leader ni the deputy president? Ama someone else can rise from the ashes of Uhuru Kenyatta? Because Uhuru yuko out sasa. He's already been president. He's out. But I get this feeling there are people who are like, they don't feel like Gachagua can go to the highest office. Wanafeel kama his highest place ni deputy president, and then that someone else will have to rise and be the official, like consolidate the Kikuyu vote. What's your views on that?
I think the deputy president has not been overly trying to look to be the kingpin of Mount Kenya. I don't think it bothers him. If you look at his demeanor and how he's operating, he's a different kind of person. He's not trying to consolidate around himself. In fact, every time he talks about consolidating around UDA and the President of the Republic of Kenya. And I think that is a way to avoid unnecessary wrangles and disputes that are not necessary. And I think they must have had a serious conversation with the President on how to run affairs to the extent that you don't create different centers of powers. Remember, William Ruto went to Mount Kenya on his own and came up with a platform around which he campaigned called the Hustler Movement. He said, we have two sides of the coin. There's the coin that has been there, running affairs and not running affairs properly.
Yeah.
And this has nothing to do with you, ordinary Kenyan. Whether you're in Kisii, whether in Kiambu, in Murang'a, in Nyeri, wherever it is that you are, we need to deal with these people. Yeah, I am that person who can be able to bring this change on your behalf. We work together. Now, he said, I have a solution. And the solution is called bottoms up. Which solution many could not even expound, including his own people, having problems expounding on it and explaining how it works. So he did not win because he consolidated tribes. He won because he identified a problem and identified a solution and gave that solution.
Yeah.
So the people who are voting for him, yeah, even in Lowland or wherever it is, Kakamega, are not voting for him because he presents a tribal face. And they are not voting for him because of the gatekeepers. Yeah, even in Western, they did not vote for him because this or the other leader was telling them vote for this guy. It is because they could identify with the issues that he had and that he was putting on the table and the solutions that he was saying he was going to come with. So he avoided, and I think he must have been informed and appreciated how history works, because he had looked at how Raila had tried winning this thing. Forming all these pentagons and summits and whatever they were called. They were being called a lot of things, and it was just a question of picking this gatekeeper, that gatekeeper, the other gatekeeper from this tribe, the other tribe, putting them together and then doing the maths and saying, we are winning this. To the extent that even the last election, Raila was sure it was about 20%, 30% of Kikuyus coming my side. Then I have this percentage of Western. Kalonzo is with me, the other one that way. So Ruto did not go that direction. He went the direction of, I want all Kenyans to vote for me. The ones that will not vote for me will not fail to vote for me because of the tribal aspect. Because I have not convinced them in terms of what I'm putting on the table.
Yeah.
So I am convinced he would not make the same mistake of again telling guys, go consolidate back home, become strong back home. I mean, if you look at them, even the ones from Coast, the Speaker of the Senate, I have not seen them sort of like consolidating power around themselves. They're just offering solutions, because even the next elections will not be about gatekeepers. Trust me, the next elections will be about delivery. And William Ruto knows, as a president, the lowest hanging fruit for him to win elections again, number one, is to deal with the cost of living.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the easiest way to win people's hearts. If unga is at 80, 100 shillings consistently for a year, by the time you are going to elections, I have a feeling it will be very hard to beat him.
Yeah.
If fuel prices, remember the international crude oil prices have gone down by close to 30% since Uhuru left. But they have not hit the pump. The prices have not been felt at the pump because of the dollar. The dollar has really been messing us up.
Yeah.
So if the dollar eases pressure on the shilling, what will happen is prices of fuel will go down. If he deals with the cartels that have made electricity so expensive to the extent that you have a token, 1,000 shillings, you load it, or 500, by the time you are leaving that gadget, it's still making noise like you've done nothing. It's mocking you, like, what do you think this is you're feeding me? If he can be able to deal with these things to the extent that power becomes cheaper, and people, these are the things that will happen. And again, the whole country, and look at how he's going to Mumias and saying a lot of things that you guys think people are unhappy. Ask the guys in Western whether they are happy about the Izo Mambo Matatu. He'll tell you, yes, this is what we want. He goes to Central, he says, I'm going to deal with cartels around this and the other one. I have a feeling he will have a lot of money as well in taxes.
Yeah.
Not because of increasing the taxes, but by collecting and sealing the loopholes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you ask any landlord out there, they tell you KRA guys are knocking on the door and asking you, how long have you been here? How much do you pay? Then they leave. What do you think will happen? They just go to the electricity meter, confirm the what land, what this property is. They'll go, they'll get information about the approval, the structure, when it was completed. If you get a completion certificate, how many tenants you have. They have known that the facility is functional. Do you pay taxes? Do you pay the amount you're supposed to pay for the building? So he's actually going flat out to ensure he has sealed the loopholes. Being the president now, he has no choice. He has to ensure every penny that needs to be collected is collected. Kibaki style. Remember, Kibaki differed with people because he introduced ETR. If you remember, ETR was introduced by Kibaki. And there was a lot of chaos. In fact, people went to court. I think LSK went to court over the same. But he insisted. It was out of that collection that he did quite a bit. So I have a feeling the president has looked at that and decided, I am going to collect. And when you say you're going to reduce the wage bill, you're going to reduce not the wage bill, but the difference between what you are spending, the budget deficit, that is.
Yeah.
If you are reducing the budget deficit, it means you copper less. And he said he's going to do that. Yeah, and he will subsequently he'll continue now growing what he has to the extent that most of the funds he'll be using for development will be funds that are collected locally. So you can imagine this kind of a person 2-3 years from now, especially now that he has sort of like waded the rough waters. Yeah, there'll be always a finance bill.
Yeah,
every year there's a finance bill. I think the biggest weakness with this government is communication. It has not been able to communicate to the extent that many people think the finance bill was introduced by William Samoei Ruto.
Yeah.
They did not know that there was a finance bill in 2018,
Yeah,
2019,
always,
2020, 21. There will be another one 2024. So
I think ni juzila zingine it's normally about alcohol, tobacco. So, those ones are the ones that stand out. So this time
and also because they are passed without acrimony.
Yeah.
Other than the one that was passed in 2018. I don't know whether you know that the fuel, VAT on fuel was introduced in 2018 by President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yeah.
And he wanted 16%. The 16% that we were crying about the other day was introduced by Uhuru Kenyatta. And that time he was working with Raila Odinga. Parliament voted against it and said no. It was very acrimonious, by the way, that time. Aden Duale was the majority leader then. I think Badi was the minority leader. And consider now that then Raila was working with Uhuru, Ali and I think Kajwang are the ones who were opposed to it, and they mobilized members of parliament until they defeated both sides. The MPs voted against 16% fuel levy, 16% VAT on fuel. Then it went to the president. He has powers to take it back to parliament with recommendations, with a memorandum recommending, okay, fine, you said no to this, give me this, the other one. Then it's voted individually. Yeah, each item is voted for individually.
Yeah.
Again, MPs voted against the proposal to increase it by 8%. So when members realized that, wakatumia kitu tutaitanga huko Kikuyuni yoga wajata werevu. So members were coerced, wakaambiwa ende kunywa chai wengine, others hid in toilets. So they could not get the quorum because you need 2/3 to send it back to the president without taking into consideration the recommendation he has. So it passed with the recommendations simply because the quorum was not met. And it was totally acrimonious. I wish you could read about it, and you'll see the videos are there. It was acrimonious, and I even saying Raila must go because he was the first person to congratulate Uhuru on MPs on passing 8% levy VAT on fuel. So I think these things Kenyans need to know. The government needs to communicate better.
Yeah.
So that it works with the people. And this is not about supporting the government blindly. It's about giving facts and figures. Yeah, we need to get there where people who come here doing analysis of politics don't just come here to say no, lazima ikue, itakuwa, itafanyika, itakuwa. Let us talk to Kenyans.
Yeah.
Because Kenyans are not foolish. They understand these things. And tell them this country is going nowhere. This is our country. Na tutakaa hapa tu.
Yeah. Okay. But sasa nini vile unasema juu ya the dollar easing pressure on the shilling, is that possible? Because Pia, I think I'd read it in a newspaper that according to IMF, they felt that the dollar and the shilling, the exchange rate should be 1 to 150. Remember? And that's where we are headed. Because right now we are at 146. Na kuna watu wamekuwa wakisema that the president is listening to IMF. That's why stories are tax, stories are nini. So do you feel like that can never go down?
It will go down. We are members of the IMF, and I have a feeling they'll come through. We are members. You have those membership, those membership organizations that you belong to, and if you remember, there was a time the president was really opposed to even IMF and the World Bank. He made quite a bit of noise. At some point, he spoke in France and it was seriously loaded. There was talk of de-dollarization, us moving away from using the dollar, so much, especially when it comes to buying fuel. The other day, I noticed that the finance cabinet secretary has said we are slowing down on that aspect of using the Kenya shilling to buy fuel. So it means there's a discussion going on. If IMF wants the shilling to be strong, it will happen. In fact, one of the functions of IMF is to help stabilize domestic currency.
No, that's what I was saying. Like, according to the IMF, wanasema inafaa kuwa $1 to 150 Kenya shillings. They've been saying that for some time. And I think Uhuru alikataa kuwasikiza. But this time, unaona, we are headed there.
Like, you can rest assured it will ease. Yeah? And we'll be back here in a few months. It will go back to, it will ease. It is not going to remain that way. Because again, remember, we are net importers, which is also a problem.
Yeah.
We have been doing a lot of importation lately, even of foodstuffs and basic things. As long as you are importing the way we are importing and exporting just about nothing, yeah, and tourism now is peaking. Remember, you've come from a COVID situation where even tourism had sort of like slowed down. Of course, we slowed down on a lot of our things to focus on COVID. So a lot of things have been happening that have not been mitigating against the bashing of the shilling. So, but if things are worked on properly and we manage to raise our own revenue so that we also slow down on the borrowing, especially external borrowing, you'll find these things changing. Yeah. And unfortunately now we can only say it will happen. What needs to happen is that proper economic finance, fiscal and monetary policies must be in place and must consistently be in place so that we are able to manage this, because that is the only aspect that is stopping the fuel prices, reasonable fuel prices being felt at the pump level. Yes.
No, okay. Because hapo ninafeel kama IMF are actually happy with a weak shilling. But maybe that's a conversation to have another time.
IMF, like I said, we are members. So what do you think, with a lot of respect, what do you think when you are saying you don't want me, you want me to die?
Yeah.
As an organization, you want to leave me, you want to divorce me. Do you think I'll be very nice to you?
Yeah, okay.
So if you are saying we need to create our own organization and leave this IMF nonsense, of course there'll be a small problem, especially if you need that person. Yeah, and you have publicly said we are leaving. We need to leave. We need to organize ourselves. We need to form something else. We need to do this. We need to start buying fuel using. So that conversation, we might not really go big about it, but trust me, there must have been some sort of altercation. And like I said, the IMF's first responsibility, and I wish you read about it even right now, and read the functions of IMF. One of them is to help stabilize the currencies of the because you cannot just allow market forces to just do whatever it is that they are doing. At some point, it becomes necessary to bail out the member country if the situation is so horrid. So, but that being said, we also need to do a lot as a country so that we reduce on the amount of imports we do on basics that can be sorted out locally.
Yeah, because I saw you and the president alisema tuache kuimport vitanda.
Precisely.
Yeah, kuna hizo vitu zile tumekuwa tukinini. Okay. So 2027 unaionaje? Do you feel like it's going to be competitive or it's going to be more of a walkover? Because this one I feel was competitive. As much as people don't look at it that way, the gap was 200,000 votes. That means if 100,000 votes had gone either way, we'd have gone to, it would have been a runoff. Because hakuna mtu angepata 50% plus one. So the difference was 100,000 votes.
I think it's going to be easier for William Ruto.
Yeah.
What I feel might happen is that the people he nominates for the other positions, he must be properly well guided.
Yeah.
He must have a very independent elections team to give him the right people, because many of those elected leaders have disconnected with the people. Yeah, they never explained to the people what the finance bill was all about, yet they voted for it. They have never explained these things that have turned out to be very acrimonious and that people have been making a lot of noise about. They never explained to them. So they disconnected with the people. So he might find it easy to win, but the credit will go only to him. It will not go to the whole team from MCA all the way up. Yeah. So he might find it reasonably easy for him to win, but if he picks the wrong people, especially if he recycles some of the ones that are currently in office, he might not get a lot of them back. So unless now he gives the members an opportunity to pick the right people and for purposes of vying, he might win. It might not be as hard as it was. Because again, remember, the biggest Achilles when it comes to the Raila candidacy is the likes of Kalonzo, the likes of Oparanya, who consider themselves senior politicians. We are following you, so why are we going? So if you're picking this one or the other one as a running mate, so then what happened? And there is that glaring likelihood that you're not going to win. So you might find a lot of those so-called gatekeepers crystallizing around the William Ruto candidature. Remember what William Ruto did when he won. He gave just about everyone who was loyal to him a seat. He gave them something. Even the ones who have not gotten it, maybe because of this court case or the other court case. So what do you think that was the message being sent then? Is that it doesn't matter whether you have won. As long as you're working with me,
I reward loyalty.
I will reward you. So you can imagine what will happen. Even if you have lost the nominations, you'll hang around there. You will not go running to be independent of this or the other one. If you think there is no opportunity, they will not win, and he comes to you and tells you, I'll make you a cabinet minister, just work with my campaign team, there is a likelihood. Because he has given an example of the kind of leader he is. So you'll find whether he sustains that up to up to post-election. That's a story for now. But at least by example, he has shown, and he can point to the individuals that vied, lost, but were loyal to him. And today, they're doing very well. They have very senior positions. So I think that's a game changer. As opposed to the Uhuru kind of leadership where strong personalities are just hanging around. Maybe they lost this nomination, the other nomination, but were supporting, but they are here. They are all over the place. They never even got jobs. They help him win. They just disappear like that. So I think that was a message he was sending, and it will attract a lot of support from individuals that otherwise would not have supported him.
Okay, alafu maybe the last question enda kuuliza, there's been this talk that I never heard during the Kibaki time. I didn't hear this talk also during the Uhuru time, the talk of getting rid of term limits. Kuna watu wanasema it's the president who sent the people to test the temperature. Kuna watu wanasema whatever. Do you see a Kenya where we can go back to non-presidential term limits?
I don't think it's going to happen. It will not happen. It is an unnecessary endeavor, if you ask me. And I think you realize that this country, the way it is, legitimacy counts for everything. You could win but not have legitimacy. So I don't see anybody who would want to run this country for 10 years and succeed and not move to the next level. Look at even his demeanor, the kind of president he is. He's already moved into Africa. He's already now doing a lot of stuff that are so about Africa. It's not just about the country Kenya. So I think he's looking at the bigger picture, if you ask me. He's getting a lot of support even from America and Europe and all that. I've heard the ambassador, the Kellys, saying very nice things about him. So I think I don't see him going that direction.
If you went that direction,
if anything, you can imagine this will be subjected to a referendum. You can imagine the kind of steps backward it will take us when you're having a discussion about amending the constitution on a matter that would make him extremely unpopular. To kill the term limit and operationalize that retrospectively. Supposing Uhuru came back and won. Because even those people, Uhuru will still be there. They are not, the difference in terms of age is not a lot. And Uhuru could vie then. And you don't know what would have happened in 10 years. In fact, the decision to amend the constitution to kill the term limit could make every gain, all the support he had gotten along the way about the prices of this, the other one. And you know how Kenyans are political. Kenyans like politics like crazy, so they would want to hinge on something, and I don't see that happening. And I am seeing a situation whereby he'll work for his 2 terms most likely, unless something drastic changes. I don't see anybody beating him in the upcoming elections. And then sit back. Number 2, if he starts talking term limits, even the Gachagwas, the Mudavadis, will leave him. After all, they are waiting on the sidelines to take over. So you can imagine, you become isolated, become alone. So because there is no one who, much as today they are saying you are the president, they are also saying we will pick on this in 2032. They are not saying indefinite. You should rule indefinitely. Even the guys who are talking about that term limit, I don't think they have a proper brief from anyone. It's just that some people there are people who are court jesters or perfect courtiers. They will say anything to please the king. Sometimes it makes the king very uncomfortable, but they've said it.
Yeah, because I think, I was having that conversation with a certain comedian, and I was telling him the same, that the Kenya that I know, it's impossible, because considering how much change we've seen after Moi left, I feel like it's impossible to take us back to a one-term, to a lifetime president. Because hiyo ndio ilikuwa nasemekana, you had the rumor that Magufuli wanted that in Tanzania.
I think you can get away with it in Tanzania, but in Kenya... And I'm not saying that because I'm Kasipul. I have no beef with anyone. But I think Tanzania is different from Kenya. Kenya is a democracy, and who wants to be here for more than 10 years as president? Why not live at the age of 60 something and go enjoy yourself? Even become the head of the UN. Become the secretary of the UN. Because you've done very well. That gives you be the one resolving disputes out there, telling countries how to resolve their issues, and take care of your kids. Do you know, I don't even know when the president meets his kids or meets his relatives, because you can imagine his diary from morning to evening, and the month is busy, is about everything. And imagine you're not a robot, but you have to know everything that you're talking about. You have to internalize most of these things that you're talking about, and appreciate and deliver in terms of even the speeches. So it's not easy. In my honest opinion, I don't see more than 10 years. 2 terms, God willing. Because again, all these things ni Mungu akipenda.
Okay, Mr. Charles, asante sana.
Yes.
Imekuwa like a very good talk. I need to have, because kila watu wajui, it was a very impromptu show. Na asante kwa Kasipul for making it possible. But I think lazima tutakuhave back ile time. Sasa nimechapa research mzuri, so that we can have a longer conversation. So vile nimeambia watu jo, imekuwa ni Nini special, tukimalizia tukisema eka nene.